Welcome to the G3 podcast. Today we are at the OpenBet offices in London. We are talking to CEO Jeremy Thompson-Hill about a product launch at the iShow, which was the Omni-Channel solution. And we're specifically interested in finding out more, really, from an operator's perspective and a player's perspective about Omni-Channel. Jeremy, thank you for having us here today.
Thank you.
I'd like to start by really asking you, in your own words, to describe Omni-Channel and really what's unique about it from an OpenBet perspective.
Sure. I mean, it is interesting. I suppose Omni-Channel for us is about taking a player-centric view of the world. I think as an industry, and industry in general, tends to take a functional view of the world when it looks at its products and how it builds products. Omni-Channel is about putting the player in the centre of that experience. So, for example, how the player begins the journey, how they interact with your initial products. They're not thinking about whether they're specifically interacting with the mobile product or the web product. They're thinking about the ease of interaction. How accessible is it? How easy is it to understand? How quickly can I use it? How quickly can I get to what I want to do? Okay. So it starts with that initial player engagement, and it ends with how you understand that player as they go through the cycle of your products or our clients' products. Okay. What do they understand at the end of it about the player? How do you drive the life cycle of the player? How do you keep the player engaged? How do you keep them interested? How do you find the right product for them to play? How do you broaden their repertoire? That's all about data and analytics and understanding the detail. And I think an omni-channel solution is just a solution that focuses on the holistic view of that player from the start of the journey to the very end.
Okay, and from a balance of play perspective, we're interested in terms of, is it going to be mobile driven? Is it going to be web based? Is it going to be about home play? Is it going to be about retail? Where's the weighting of that solution in terms of how important it is in each of those different channels?
Look, I think it's a difficult question to answer from one perspective. What I would say is this: retail is a massive part of gaming. When you think about online gaming, you think about the weight on the other side of online gaming, which is effectively licensed betting shops, people placing bets in casinos. This is a significant part of the industry. Over 50% of the industry is based on that channel. Now, we have yet to fully integrate that. So it certainly suggests that in part you would believe that the integration between online and retail is a critical battleground and will add a considerable amount of value. That said, technology decides. When technology is decided, players tend to follow. Think about mobile phones as an example. When mobile first came out, people didn't use it. It was WAP-based. It wasn't natural. I could place a bet by calling someone much quicker than I could place a bet by going through my mobile phone. Yeah. Once that technology came online with the iPhone and with single-screen devices, it then drove the next 3 or 4 years' growth in that channel. So you have to let the market kind of settle and see where it goes. But certainly retail will be a critical part of it.
And one of the, obviously the unifying elements of all this, and significantly it's the unified card, how significant is that as a tool for the player to be able to actually tie together all those different elements?
Look, we're at the start of the journey, and the unified card is one part of that journey. It's a critical part of the journey because for the first time you can share an account. You can open an account in a retail environment and that will automatically unlock an account in the online environment. So you're suddenly able to reach a deeper breadth of products simply because you now have an account to allow you to go in and use them. Importantly though, you also have convenience. You have the ease of using that card for specific products. So rather than needing to carry cash, if you don't have cash you can use your card. You then have the data from an operator perspective that's captured by the use of that card. So in all of those areas, it gives you, again, we're talking about trying to understand a more holistic view. And to do that, you need data. You need to know what the player's doing. And that gives you the opportunity to capture yet more data.
Okay. And are we going to actually see, is this a replacement for cash in terms of a retail perspective? Is that what the unified card and the omni-channel solution does? Are we heading down that route? Is this the ultimate goal? Or is this something as on a journey in which you as a phasing out process even?
Look, I don't know if it's the ultimate goal or not. The ultimate goal is to understand the player. And in understanding the player, you discover on the journey you don't need cash. Right. Potentially you don't need cash. Certainly if you look outside the industry and you take a snapshot of the last 20 years, you will see cash is less and less prevalent. from the days of using credit cards and bank cards more prevalently to today. Now you've got Apple Pay, you have new ways of using, of paying. I mean, just take the Oyster card in London Underground.
Yeah.
You know, it's much more convenient. It hasn't phased out cash. People still buy tickets. However, if you're so inclined, you have a route to get to that service in a much more simple way. So I think these things the market will decide. You would expect cash to be less valuable in the player experience as time goes on. But players are full of surprises.
And in terms of that single wallet solution, how important is that for an operator? And at this point in time, are operators asking for it? Is it a push? Is it a pull? Is it something where the operator understands the benefits of the single wallet solution? And is it not just from a player perspective, but the operator understands what it means to put that card into the player's hands?
I think the operator is going on a journey of understanding. They're working out themselves new ways of interacting with the players and new ways of taking payments from the players and capturing data. If you'd asked that question 2 years ago, I would have said we're very much trying to push these solutions. These solutions aren't necessarily falling onto natural concepts and ideas on the bookmaker side or on the operator's side. If you look 2 years on, it's a different story. And operators are seeing the value in these things. You only need to look at what Corals have talked about and their understanding of Corals Connect, their ability to take on more user registrations, to see that there's value to be had. But they're also on that journey of how you extract that.
And ultimately, the operator wants, obviously, to take the players on that migration route, so that they're moving between different locations. Are we seeing players moving between those locations? Is that the kind of the ultimate goal? Are we there now, and those players are migrating, or are we waiting for Omni-Channel to help them migrate? Is that kind of a chicken and an egg scenario?
I think Omni-Channel expresses the view that there is value in sharing your product set across all of retail, the retail estate and the online estate. You know, operators are extracting value today that have Omni-Channel solutions because they are taking that client account and that client is using other products that they weren't using before. However, again, that will evolve over time. They will gain a greater understanding of how that client particularly, or that player particularly operates, how what they like, what they don't like, what is the best way to introduce them into new products, where are the products they'll find naturally themselves. You know, it's a journey that they'll discover every year as they collect more data themselves.
And is that online exclusive player and that the retail-only player, is this the link between those two environments? Is this the product that pulls those two together so that we get that migration?
I think it is a product that pulls the two together. It's not the product. Other products create that link. If you think about the consumer space in the retail market, you know, we have the promote systems that you can see behind you.
Yeah.
That is another link of taking data from online, information from online, broad information, and engaging the player who's in a retail experience. If you think about watching sporting events, what makes sporting events more exciting? You have multiple people watching them at the same time.
Yeah.
The promote becomes a call to action then, as well as watching the event. So you've now created an environment, a community environment. You can then market to those individuals by sending them specific bets that they might want to be interested in while watching the game, or introducing them to other parts of your business that might be relevant to them while they watch the game. So you can cross-promote.
Okay.
And that's another vehicle to do effectively the same thing.
In terms of the hardware and technology that a retail environment would have to have, I mean, we've seen the solutions here today at the OpenBet offices, but in terms of our listeners, from a retail perspective, are they investing huge sums to actually bring Omni-Channel to their players, or is it a simple solution?
Look, I think if it required huge sums, it would be incredibly slow to get penetration. Because if you think about the cost of a shop, and customers have thousands of shops, you only need to introduce small amounts to become prohibitive.
Yes.
You know, the OpenBet solution is cost effective. So effectively you have a card reader which you can get for a significantly reduced price now, under £10 for a card reader. You have a PC, which is a regular PC, and you have a printing device.
And that's all they actually need.
That's all you need for that specific solution. Okay. So you know, it's important that you keep costs down if you want to get market penetration.
And we were talking, you mentioned about the size of the group and the scale of the operations. What kind of scale of group and what size of operation in terms of a retail operator are you looking at for this to be a functioning solution? Are we talking about the major groups in the marketplace, or can some of the smaller operators actually get on board and offer this to their clientele as well?
But I think all these solutions that focus on the player shouldn't be driven by size, because every business benefits from understanding its consumer. OpenBet's no different. The more it understands its clients, the better it can service its clients, the better it can operate on behalf of its clients, and the more value that it will add. So these solutions shouldn't be prohibitive anyway. Now, obviously, different organisations will benefit in different ways. If you're a very large casino, red brick casino, but have no web business, the Omni-Channel solution would take a different evolution, because your focus would be to take players that you'll have some understanding in your casino and migrate them to online.
Okay.
Vice versa, if you're an online business looking to expand into the retail market, or to just expand your product offering, you go in that direction. It's all about allowing products that are very, very simple to access, that the consumer benefits from immediate use. It's simple to use, it's easy for them to get to what they want. And that shouldn't limit whether you're a large company or a small company. We all have customers.
One of the things that I found really interesting, we're still at early days in terms of Omni-Channel, but it's been shown that the multi-channel players are actually substantially more valuable than single-channel players. I'm just wondering, why is that, and why is it so important for the operator to understand this seemingly almost a new type of player who actually is moving from different environments, and how that's a cost-effective way of actually, say, promoting to them, but actually drawing them in so that they stay loyal to the brand?
I think all businesses rely on their clients or their customers continuing to spend and continuing to drive revenues with them. All businesses rely on that. If you think about it from a gaming-related perspective, the cost to acquire a player is getting more and more and more expensive. Think of the UK market back in 1999 when OpenBet first opened its doors to gaming. Compared to the UK market now. Think of the advertising on television, think of the competition, think of the quality of products now in gaming. So you need to be able to differentiate, you need to be able to continually take your consumer on different journeys. And opening a multi-channel solution or an omni-channel solution allows you to decide with the consumer whether, if they enjoy sports betting, casino is right. It gives you that opportunity to simply drive up player value. And over the lifetime of the player, it's all about driving up the player value. And you can't just throw marketing dollars at that.
Right, okay. In terms of enrolling players for the unified card, we've seen a system. It takes minutes to actually operate within the retail environment. But how do you actually incentivize a player? How do you enroll them? How do you engage them in the first point to actually say how valuable this is? How does a retail environment actually, I guess, sell this to the player and promote this as a solution for them to actually play within home and retail? Is it an easy sell? Is it a complicated way? I mean, what's the best way for a retailer to explain it to the player base?
Look, I think it's a very interesting question. It's a question that different retailers or different clients would answer very differently. Okay. Some may choose to bring in this kind of method of attracting their consumers purely by promotions. Yeah. They have the chance to use other products at a reduced rate, or have specific products be able to market on specific products, maybe a £5 free bet in poker or a £10 free spin in casino, if they take up the offer of generating an account. But the consumer needs to believe that there is ease of use. And I come back to the Oyster card, because it's the same principle. Yeah. Did I need selling into the Oyster card? Not really, because I could see immediately it was much easier to use the train with an Oyster card than it was to continually use the train paying cash and queuing up.
Yeah.
So, but the clients will have, OpenBet clients will have different agendas and different ways of attracting the consumer to the multi-channel model.
Well, one of the things about the unified card, it's almost a very simple concept, but at the same time, a bit like the Oyster card, it's a very simple concept and you get it, but the actual back-end system, how it all works, must be extremely complicated, and to pull that all together. How much does an operator actually need to know to understand how all this works?
Look, I mean, I think betting is more complicated than people give it credit for, and it does certain things in the wider industry that is really very, very interesting and drives volumes in particularly unique ways. I think you need to be able to work with suppliers that understand the chain from beginning to end. OpenBet is one part in that chain. It supplies certain products and certain ways of generating consumer interest. The operators will have other products that they can use in that chain. What's important is that you have an open environment, an architecture that allows for the operator to work with best of breed in certain environments. I mean, the best example I would give you, we provide tools to allow our operators to manage their front end, their consumer-facing front end, for example, for a tablet. But they should, and that's critical because that's what attracts the user to use that tablet, is that front end. Yeah. But they should also be able to work with innovative companies also in that space that might have particular design methodologies that make it even simpler to use and even more enticing. So you need the open architecture, and you need to understand the flow from end to end, and I don't think lots of companies do that.
One of the things that was interesting in terms of UBet and UPlay, which are solutions that aren't tablets and they're based from a land-based environment. And I was wondering, are these solutions going to ultimately replace the slot machines that we now see? So you have, comfortable players sitting in armchairs with tablet devices, playing with a unified card, and is that going to be an environment of the future?
Who knows is the answer to that. Okay. Certainly the way that people interact with terminals changes when you give them something like a unified card, because they can immediately enter cash funds differently. It's the simplicity of being able to access that screen. Okay. Once you access the screen and you've already logged in and you have your account, then you can change what's on that screen. Okay. So you don't necessarily have to be chained at that point to just what you were doing, placing a sports bet. You can move it to placing an in-running bet. You can move it to placing a casino. Okay. How that will evolve remains to be seen. Again, it will probably depend to a certain extent on the needs of the operator that's using the technology. There's certainly a lot of value today in using existing machines and the way that existing machines work. So I don't see it as an instant replacement. But it feels like there's a lot of versatility in these new methods, so that would be interesting to see how it develops.
It's certainly a path that operators can go on in terms of that route if they so wish.
Certainly, yeah.
I was wondering, in terms of promote, you mentioned it a little bit earlier. I just wondered if you wanted to just expand a little bit about as a marketing display solution, how integral that component is to actually make the whole thing work in terms of promoting each individual channel to the player at different points of the journey as well.
Yeah, look, I think if you think about the retail environment, promote is absolutely critical to making that retail environment understood when you walk in as a consumer. Right. So you need, in the olden days, people wrote things, chalked things up on boards and put newspapers up.
Right.
And that worked because the consumer could come in and they could see the product that they wanted to engage with, and that was important for them. Yeah. Promote is a super ultra modern way of doing really the same thing, but it's versatile. So if you think about the amount of markets you might have on your online system, the amount of product you might have, at the highest level, Promote gives you an opportunity to share that product immediately in the retail environment. Okay. You then have, on top of the sharing of that product, it might be particular bet types or particular markets, a route to actually show the other side of that product. For example, if you're betting on the game of football, you have a route to show the game of football in a more engaging way.
Right.
So then you take it to another level. Then you have the ability to attract, using the same product, that consumer to other particular products you might want to use. For example, into other gaming or to advertise specific promotions in store at that time. I mean, one of the keys of Promote is that you can configure and have lots of different environments on one single large screen. So you can divide that screen into 8 different boxes if you wanted to, all showing something different. Or you can have it as one box, all showing the game, or 2 showing the game and just some specific betting.
Okay. I mean, in terms of, from our side, my interest in the Omni-Channel to be responsible for closing the loop on gaming, from retail to mobile to online and home, can Omni-Channel do that? Can Omni-Channel be the actual link between all those different environments, between all those different players? And can it take the online play into retail and retail into online? And is that the reason for Omni-Channel to exist? Is that the ultimate goal of Omni-Channel? Or is there another thing that we haven't actually seen in terms of the benefits to the retailer? Is it player-centric from that side, or is it retail? Is it operator-centric, or is it both?
Look, I think that is absolutely the goal, is to close the circle and provide your products and services in a way that the player gets everything that they need from the ease of use and the quality of the product, and the operator gets everything that they need in terms of player understanding, in terms of the ability to drive the player life cycle value up over time. How it evolves, I have to stress, we're at the start of a journey. And operators will take technology into different directions, and externally technology will evolve in different ways. So it remains to be seen how wide that circle becomes. You know, recently it was put that you could use your multi-channel card to buy food and beverage in casinos. Okay. That's immediately an extension of the payment systems where you have a customer account that's never been used for anything but gaming. It suddenly could be used for something else. So I think, to your question, it will evolve. Exactly what specific areas we'll find out. We're on the journey. We'll find out over time.
Okay. And what points of the journey are we at now? I mean, are we at the early point? Are we midway through?
No. It feels like we've been travelling for a while. It
Right.
feels like that. If you think when OpenBet bought Alpha Merit, which is, I think, its retail division back in, I think, 2009, 2010, we had a view and a vision of where the omni-channel strategy would take us. We're in 2015 now, and it's been the first year of that vision being its practical application in betting shops. So I think we're at the start of the journey still. We've got a long way to see where it finally finishes up.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us
Thank
today.
you.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.